Hi, I'm Mike Harris, and I'm going to do a series explaining the realities of how the law may affect you, and especially if you are accused of wrongdoing. And one of the most important things to understand when you are accused is knowing the difference of what your case is about and whether you are looking at a defense or mitigation. A defense legally is saying you're not guilty. You didn't do what you're accused of. It wasn't illegal. Someone's making something up. Several possible ways you may argue that, basically saying you didn't do it. There is a second kind of defense, which is called an affirmative defense. That's basically saying you did what you are being accused of, but there was a legally justifiable reason. The most common one of those is called self-defense. And there are other types of affirmative defenses, such as certain types of emergency defenses and insanity, and there are others. What is not a defense or an affirmative defense is that it was not that big a deal, or that someone deserved to get hit. However, there is also something called mitigation. And mitigation is really 90% of what normally happens in a criminal defense case, or most of those cases. And mitigation, you're basically saying, okay, maybe you're guilty, but it's not as bad as it seems. And there's a few types of mitigation. The most common mitigation is, what have you done since the offense? First thing any judge or prosecutor normally looks at after they feel that the person's guilty is, what have you done for me lately? Things like doing classes and therapy and things of that nature can often help to reduce what you might be looking at. Another type of mitigation is the nature of the offense. A punch in the face and a slap in the face, for example, might be the same level of a crime, but they might be treated differently. And the circumstances surrounding that can make a very big difference in whether you're looking at jail or probation or keeping this off your record. The other type of mitigation is what led up to the offense. Did something happen before? Whether it be because of something in your background, such as a mental health issue, or whether it be because of something that led up to or provoked what occurred. So, what would be a good example? I don't know. How about a slap in the face? And we're not talking about proof or what the likelihood of conviction is in this type of situation. Let's assume that there's plenty of witnesses, you got cameras, everyone knows what happened, and it's not self-defense, you're not legally insane, you walked up and you slapped someone. Well, if you're a regular person and the police know of that, you're going to get either arrested or cited and summoned into court. And you're going to have to deal with that case. Now, from that scenario, there's just no defense. Everyone has the right to go to trial, but we know what happened. But your case isn't over. You still have what 90% of a case is, which is mitigation. And that is, what are the circumstances? And there's a big difference of walking up to an elderly lady and slapping her and walking up to another guy where you're more or less the same size. And the courts are going to treat that very differently. Now, what are you really looking at really depends on a whole bunch of circumstances. And building that mitigation case can make a difference of whether you go to jail or get probation or get the case dismissed. And an example of trying to mitigate something like that Let's say someone was talking about your wife, and they were saying some nasty jokes. That might be considered mitigating. Now, if you're a regular person, you're going to get either arrested or cited. But that doesn't mean you're going to jail. And depending on where you are and circumstances surrounding that, you might even be able to keep it off your record. You might be able to get it dismissed. It may be more or less difficult depending on the severity and exactly what happened. But that's the difference of defense and mitigation. And you may have a combination. You may have one, you may have the other. But every case is important, and consider what you are looking at and what your situation is. See you next.